it going? Today we're going to be working on creating a Marvel characters application. It's a full stack application with a front and a back end component to it. This is an example of what it's going to look like. So let's say we're looking for the character Thor, or let's say Hulk. So we hit the search key, it renders here. These are all the Hulk characters that are in the Marvel database based on the API I used. And let's say we click on this, it takes us to this page where we can see every comic, well, at least 20 of the comic books that Hulk has been in, description of them, and an image of them. And then we can always go back to the search and search for someone else. Let's say Thor. Click on any of the Thor characters. So this gives you his description. Now, some of them don't have the comics in the database, depending on what Thor character you searched for. So this is Thor MMA. However, if you search Thor again and you just click on the regular Thor, it gives you his description, the Thor comics he's been in, and basically you get the idea. So we're going to be getting our API key, and we're going to be calling everything from the developer.marvel.com website. So you can go ahead and just click on get a key. Let's see the documentation first. So these are all the options. You can search using the character ID, just the characters, and I believe we're going to be using the character ID first. Well, we're going to be using the characters first, and then from the character we get the character ID, which in turn renders this page. So it's based off the ID, we're going to be getting this page. So yeah, let's get started. So before we begin the actual coding process, let's just take a look at these nodes. These are the dependencies we're going to be using. So on the client side, we're going to be using Tailwind.css and Axios. On the server side, we're going to be using Axios, body parser, the cores, middleware, crypto.js to help with the encryption of data. .env, this is going to help us manage our environmental variables and store secrets, things as such. Express and NodeMod. All right, so let's get started. So let's go straight into the project. We're just going to make a new window. Now, I have created a folder within my directory just called Marvel YouTube, but I can show you how to do that. That's just going to be mkdir Marvel YouTube. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just calling it that just so I know where I have it saved. After doing that, just press enter. It's going to create it and give you back this this line. So what you want to do is cd straight into Marvel YouTube. That's what I call it. And then clear. So if you type in clear and enter, it just clears your terminal for you. Now we're gonna split this terminal, and as you can see, it's two of the same things. We're gonna use this part for the client side and this part for the front end. In order to split the terminal, you can, if you have a Mac, you can always go command and then a vertical line, or give me 1 second. You can just hit this button and it splits it for you. Either or. So on the client side, this is the client side, this is the backend side, server side. So on the server side, what we're gonna do is make another directory called server. I believe I already did that. Okay, so it says file exists. So just clear, cd straight into it. Just cd straight into server and clear it. npm run init is the command we're gonna do just to install basically what we need for the backend. So once you hit that, oh sorry, I did not. Wait 1 second. Clear. So we went into server. Init. Okay, so it's gonna be npm init. it's going to come up with all this. Just go ahead and click enter all the way to the bottom. It's going to ask you, is this okay? Just click enter and then clear. So we're going to come back to that. Right now on the client side, we're going to be using React. So it's npx create React app, and we're just going to call it client. And while it's doing that, oh, sorry, I didn't cd into the client side. So cd, oh, wait, what's going on? Oh, sorry. So npx create React app client. There it is. I didn't put a space in between app and client. So it's installing all the packages at this point. So as you can see, it's going to take a little while. So while it's doing that, let's just look at the notes we had earlier. Let's see. Okay, so these are all the dependencies we're going to be needing for the server side. So we're going to need Axios, body parser, cores, crypto.js, .env, express, and node.mon. So let's go ahead and start downloading those or installing those. Let's just say, so it's going to be npm install. Oh, sorry, we're also going to need, yep, express, I have it there. So npm install express. So on the client side, we did npx create React app. So that's to start React. Since this is going to be for the server side, we're going to use npm install express. We're just going to do it one at a time, just so it's a little easier to see. So we're going to install express, and that's installed. This one's usually run a little faster. npm install, I believe it's going to be 1 second. Let's just put this over here, and then this over here. Okay, so npm install body parser. It's going to do that. npm install cores. And for those of you who don't know how I'm getting these commands, again, so we just go to Google. We can go straight to, let's say, npm express. It takes you right to this npm.js, and this is where you can see where all the commands are. So you just click that, it copies it for you. You can either type it in or just paste it in here. So let's see. So we have so far express, body parser, and cores. So what else are we missing? We are missing crypto.js, .env, and node.mon. So let's do this. Node.mon. Click on that. And once you click this, it's copied to the clipboard. You can go right back and just Command V and enter. So you see it's the same process. So I've done this a decent amount of times where I can remember what the commands are. So let's just keep going. So .env. And as we go through this video, we're going to be explaining what they all do. So we can install Axios yet? Probably did. Okay, and then we're just going to clear it. And for this, it's finished. Installing the React client side. So what we're gonna do is come straight here to this, and we're gonna go to Tailwind CSS and get started. So in Tailwind CSS, this is the documentation for it. So I just go here, copy this. This is the installation command. Come right here and cd. So it's going to tell you what to do. We suggest that you begin typing cd client and then npm start. So we're not going to start we're not going to use the start command yet. What we're going to do though is cd into the client. Cd client, clear it, and then paste in that command, and there you go, clear. Okay, so now open, go over here to the Marvel YouTube, and open. It might ask this. Typically, it's just already trusted, but yes, I'm going to trust the author, so that's going to give us access to this. So what we want to do is reopen this. We're going to split the terminal again, cd straight into server here, clear it, cd straight into, okay, and on this one, what we're going to do is cd into client, clear, and then npm run start. So now that it's downloaded, we don't have to use the npx anymore or create anything. We're just going to start it, and the start is npm run start. And once you do that, it's going to take a little while, and then it's going to open right there. And there you go. That's your new that's going to be the front end browser. So we come back, and for the server side, we're going to do something similar. However, let's go to the server really quickly. Package.json. So this is going to tell, this is basically what you created when you hit npm init. It just created all this. But we're not going to be needing this, the test. We're just going to be needing this. So you're going to say start and nodemon index.js. So the reason it says index.js is because in our main here, it's index.js. So we're gonna, and then nodemon is sorry about that. So nodemon is a dependency we installed earlier. 1 second, so it's right here. It just helps restart the web server whenever a change is implemented. So you'll see as we go along what it really does. So, but we have main as index.js here, but the problem is it's not in our server. We just have this. So what we want to do is create a file in our server and say index.js. And this is where all our I look at it as the global site where everything in our Express framework is going to work, or anything in our Node.js is going to start. And then we can branch out into routes and things as such. But for the most part, everything's going to start and end here. So now that we have this index.js, right before we start it, we save that now, and we're going to say constant express. So now we're going to make use of the Express framework that we installed, and we're going to require the Express package. Okay, and let's just come here and say constant app, and now we're going to use this app as a variable for the Express function. So we're going to say constant app, constant express. There we go. And now we can do this also. Constant constant port is going to be 5000. So that's the port which this server is going to run on. And constant host name is going to be a string called localhost. All right. So now if we say app.listen, we give it the port. So just remember the port comes first. That's just the sequence of which Express uses. So port first, and then host name. All right, and then this. I tend to use the arrow function a lot, so we're doing that. And then console.log. Console.log. This server is running on. Let's use backticks here, just so we can use this JS syntax. So it's running on host name and port. There we go. So now if we say npm run start, it's going to tell you the server is running on localhost 5000. meaning this server is now working. It's running. What NodeMon does is now anytime I put something in here, for example, let's say I change this, let's say I take this out, host name, and I just put the port. Anytime I do that, rather than stopping the whole, rather than refreshing or anything, I just save it, and NodeMon restarts, and now it tells you the server's running on 5,000. So nothing's going on with the server or the host name. It's just this restarted, this whole sequence restarted, and now it's telling you what's going on with the server. So let's just go back at the host name. So this is the most basic level of starting a server using Express. But we're gonna forget this for right now and then just go straight into our servers, our client side. So we're not going to be using the client side, server side right now. We're going straight into the client side. Package.json. Let's see. Anything else? Our Tailwind has been downloaded. Okay, let's start. Okay, now let's go in, and now we just got to finish up the Tailwind process. So since it's been installed, what you want to do to finish out the process is go straight back to Tailwind documentation. Now we're on number 2. You just want to take this, copy it, come over here, and then just do that. So now it has more context. And what we want to do is add something called JSX, and then save it. So JSX is a syntax used React. It looks similar to a scripting language, but it's not. It comes with the full power of JavaScript. I usually use it in my component section. It's typically where it's used. We'll get to that as we go along. So now we get to the third part, and now it has to add the directives of your CSS. So you just want to copy that. You can put this in your input.css file. So we're just going to look for that. We don't have an input, but we do have an index.css, and I just paste it right there. And we should be all set. So just to clean up, let's go back to React. So just to clean this up, we don't need a lot of things. So we don't need the app.css. We don't need the test.js. So this, we're gonna just delete that. Report web vitals is what we're deleting, and then just make sure you save. Let's make sure we save this too. The logo, we don't need that. That's the logo at the start of the page. We don't need this either. We don't need setup. Okay, so the only thing it should be left with is app.js, index.css, and index.js. So in app.js, we're just gonna delete all this. You should just be left with function app, and you can delete from header to header. Just delete all that. Sorry, just delete this. Okay, and we can delete this. Doesn't really matter. There we go. All right, and now we have a blank page. So see if this works. Just go here on page 1, say hello world, and there we go. So that works. Awesome. So now to begin, remember we're only working on the client side at this point. So since I have already created this before, this is my this is the one that's currently running. We're just gonna basically use this as our reference, and it's gonna make things a lot faster. So what we want to do first is create the search component. So we just come over to src, hit the folder, new folder, and it's going to be called components. We're just going to do this, new file, and say search. Just make sure it starts with a capital because that's a requirement for React. So search.jsx. So this is the JSX I was speaking about before. So you do that. We're just gonna do RAFCE, then import. So for those of you that don't know how to do this, you just want to come over here to extensions. We're just gonna install this ES7 plus React Redux React Native snippet. So we're gonna be installing this. It should show this when we transfer it to here. So if we come in here and pass in search to our app.js and hit save, now you should see whatever is in between here, whatever is between this div. So if I type in hello world, this is what's going to be posted in there. Now, just to make things a little faster, what we're going to do is, since I already created this whole thing, I'm just going to take this, copy it, and post it in here. And then just walk, let's say. So to begin with, we have the width of the div as full, height is full. The text is all centered, and we gave it a padding of 5 with the cursor pointer. So if I go over here, you can see it's a cursor pointer. And then with the input border, we give it a border. We give it a border white because it's on a white screen. Let's just make it a border black. There you go. So as you can see, this is in there. So there's a black border and it's rounded at medium. So we did the same thing for the button, and then we gave it a class name, rounded medium, background green, and that's how we get the search. So this is just going over the CSS portion. You go over and skip this if you already understand how to do all this. So with the div, so we create another div, and we put this. This is where we're gonna be putting all of our everything that comes into view when we search anything. So right now we type in anything, nothing's gonna work. It's not hooked up to anything. This is just the CSS portion of how to do this. Now, we're also gonna have, okay, so now let's bounce back to the server side. So we just did this so we can see what's going on the front end CSS portion. So now this is where the real work begins when we're talking about the server side coding. Now that we're back in the server side, just going to use this once again as a reference, so make things go a little faster. What we're going to do is just finish installing all our, finish calling all our dependencies over here, in here. So everything we install, we're just going to put them in here. So what we're going to put in is we're going to go to file here, and remember when we installed the .env package, so instead of saying .env, it's like .env, and this is going to house all our API keys or private keys or basically any sensitive information is going to come in here. So we're going to do that first, and then for those of you using Git, you can also do this and put .git ignore. So this is a way to do the things where you can just put in .env in here, and that way whenever you send this over to Git, push it to Git, this .env is not going to show in your Git on your Git account. So if anyone goes in there to like basically clone anything or fork it over to their system, it's not going to show your sensitive information because it's in the Git ignore. You can also put Node modules in there, which is a great way because this is a lot of information that's really not important for anything. You just put it in there, so that way there's not a lot of space being taken away. But I digress. Let's get back to the main. Let's just close up all those tabs. So now here, what we're going to do is require that .env package, because that's where we're going to be putting our private key or our API key. So what we're going to do is say require .env .config. Got it. And then we're going to take Axios, require Axios. Same thing for cores. So constant cores goes require cores, constant body parser. Yeah, so this is more of a step-by-step tutorial. You can go ahead and skip this part. Okay, so now we have everything that we're going to be needing in this on the server side. It's basically right here. This is every single dependency that we downloaded and every the port name, everything. It's pretty much right here. So what we're going to do is look at the documentation of what this wants us to do. So if we look at the documentation here in the how-tos, it's the authorization. So if you come here, it's going to say authorizing and sign in request using your keys, authentication for client-side application and server-side application. So since we're going to be building everything out of the server-side application, we're going to be given, we need to create a timestamp. And it's going to tell you what it is. It's just a long string that you can change on request by request basis. And then you're going to need to hash it. So this is where the crypto.js comes in. You're going to need to to encrypt your private key, your public key, and this timestamp. So this is just a method of doing that, an MDF5 digest of the timestamp parameter, your private key, and your public key. So this would be an example of how it's going to look when you want to get the document from the web server. So you have http gateway.marvel.com v1 public/comics with querying timestamp is equal to 1. So we have a timestamp. API key, it's just they're just giving you an example of 1, 2, 3, 4. And now this hash is a combination of the timestamp, the private key, and the public key. And we're just this is their method of hashing it, MD5, and then they do this and it's hashed. So we're taking a hash variable and we're just plugging it into this. So let's start with and before we start, just make sure you hit get a key. So what we want to first do is this. So constant timestamp. Because remember, you have to make a timestamp. So what you want to do is just create a date. So new date dot get time. Okay, so this is going to give you so it said it needs a timestamp or other long string which can change on a request by request basis. So this would be our timestamp. It's because of the date and it's the time, it's going to change. So that's if we console log it, you see it here. So what you have to do next is you're going to have to take the public key and the private key and plug it in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put mine in a .env. I'm here. The process of doing so is process.env dot whatever you called it here. So I called it private key. They're both in caps, so that's important. So what I want to do is private key put this in caps, private key. Oh, well, so this is going to go here, and this is going to be public key. Okay, so as you can see, it refreshed, kept going. So this is going to be my private key. My private key. Private key, and this is going to be my public key. So in order to make sure this works, this has to be uh, on the list of the dependencies that we are using up here. So we're requiring the .env.config. This is just the syntax at which you use the .env package. So we do this. If this is in there, you're going to get an error when you try to use the public key and the private key variable. And also because this is JavaScript, everything written from top to bottom needs to be in order of how you're going to use it. So I typically put the required .env.config right at the top because anything, in case I need to call anything from my .env, I don't have to like move it around, and I just put it right at the top, and then everything else falls as it would. So in this situation, we're actually using it first, so that works. So now what we have to do is const hash, because that's the next step here. So we're hashing this, and it's going to be, remember, we're using crypto here. So what we can actually do is take this, just to make things easier, take that, and then we're gonna hash it with crypto dot create hash. That's just an object that's part of the that's attributed to crypto, and then we're going to use that MD5 that was seen here. There we go. We're going to use that MD5, and then we're going to say update. Now we're going to take all these constants, just like it was here, and then just, especially in this order, it has to be in this order. So just to make things easier again. There we go. Okay, so update, and then we're going to take TS plus private key plus public key. There you go. So we're going to save that, and server's back to running. We're going to save that, and now this hash should be working here. So for example, now if I wanted to make a call and I said, actually we'll get to that. Let's just keep going. So now we're going to have, let's say we get a so now we're going to call, let's say app.get to this. So if we go to local host 5000 backspace, as you can see, it says cannot get anything at this moment. So what we want to do is, so this this is attributed to this. So what we want to do is say app.get this. It's going to be sync, because we're going to be using Axios. So it's going to be a sync request response. So that you have to make sure it's in this order. And then we're going to say Axios.get. There we go. So yep, Axios is in there. .get. Now we're going to be using, let's see. Okay, we didn't have a get here, so we don't need this anymore. I'll just use the whole thing. So we're going to be saying Axios.get. Let's go to, what is the, when you come here, it tells you how to get this. But let's say we want to use, okay, so let's say we want to use public characters in interactive documentation. So we want to use public characters. It's, if you scroll down, you can just So let's actually go back here. So let's say I want to use Thor as the name of the parameter I'm passing in, and I want to get the everything about the character of Thor. So if I scroll down and I say try it out, this is the URL. So now if I take this URL everywhere right from Thor, and I take this and I post this in here, so I have it all the way to Thor. So now what I have to do is go with whatever they said to do for the authentication. So I have it all the way till here so far. Now I just have to add the timestamp, hash, and everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow them and say, let's make this backticks so we can use the syntax, the JS syntax. So now what we're gonna do is say and we're gonna add the TS. Okay, and then we're gonna add and API key. So we're just following this and API key. So and then it's gonna be public key, and now we're gonna add hash. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So upon looking at this, the only thing we forgot to do in constant hash is add digest and hex. So that's just part of the crypto encryption, the syntax. So we just forgot to add that. So if we ran this way, it wouldn't run until that's done. So just a little more to add on to this. So we can say const response is equal to this. That's because we can console log this or just send this data to our server here, to our host name port. So localhost 5000, we can do that. So what we want to do is console.log response.data, because this is the response, we're getting the data from it. So we're going to append it to the response, or response.data. And then what we're going to do is res.send. So the response, we're sending not this response. So just to make this easier, let's just call this info so we don't get confused. So, or yeah, info, that's fine. So res.send. So this res pertains to this res. So response. So we're sending this response, and within this response, what we're sending is the same thing we put into console log. We're sending info, this info, and the data that comes with the info. So let's see. Okay, so this is still running. What we can do now is come here, go to localhost. It's going to be localhost 5000. Something seems to be the problem. Oh, yeah. So wait, the issue. So when we put TS is equal to this, there's no $sign that goes in there. So just save that. Should be fine. Run this up. Okay, so we just have to close out of this, and probably have to close out of all of this. It's just a weird thing that happens. Resave that and then open it back up. Let's just open the things we closed first. So we open this, and then localhost 5000. All right. So on the phone, seems like, well, not seems like, what happened is, since this is an Axios request, we have an async here, and we have to await the response. So we forgot to put await. So when we do that, and we come back here, localhost 5000, there you go. This is all the information pertaining to Thor. So as you can see, there's there are multiple, well, there's a lot of information here is what I'm trying to say. So if you also look here on the console.log, you see that it's only given us um, basically this little information regarding what we requested. But within this portion that says data, um, there is an object there, and it has basically all the information regarding whoever it is we requested. So how we can like go into that is by saying info.data.data. Do that. If we do this again, we just refresh it and we look here, it gives us the name and the description of um, Thor within the results portion. So if we just wanted this singular description, we can come in here and say dot results, and then okay. So within results, we're grabbing the first array, which would be this, um, and then we're grabbing dot description. So we're within results, we're grabbing this array, and then within the array, we're grabbing descriptions. And if you go down here, you'll see as the nurse god, blah, blah, blah. This is the description form. So this is basically the method at which you check to see if your request works. Are you getting back data? And are you able to reflect the data onto the screen? And so now we're going to try and connect the front end to the back end. Now we're back on the front end. Let's go to host 3000. Okay, here we are. Let's just console. There we go. All right. And now what we want to do is figure out a way to input information here and send it over to the back end, which will then receive their information and send it back to the front end. So it's pretty much like a little carousel that goes around. So you put in information here, it goes to the back end. From the back end, it comes right back to the front end. But before that, let's see how this works. Let's see how we actually connect to this backend. So right here, we're using a get request. So axios.get, app.get. So we're using a get request here to get a built-in information. So we're using name.thor here. We're actually we're actually hard coding in Thor as the name. So this wouldn't give us Spider-Man, it wouldn't give us anything else. It just gives us Thor, no matter how many times you input something in here. So let's first see how we can take this information and send it over to the front end. Just this Thor information itself. So what you want to do first is make sure, okay, so here we have const cores is require cores. However, we didn't use it as a middleware. So what you want to say is app.use cores, and then do that, and this. So now it's being used. So you come in here also, and you want to do the same thing. You want to import Axios from Axios. And I don't believe so I say npm install Axios, and then it just installs Axios. Declare npm start. Okay, so import Axios from Axios. It's going to give you an error because you're not using Axios. It's just been implemented, but it's not being used. So what we can say is, let's just do a quick get for it. So what we want to say is constant fetch data is equal to an async function. Because this is Axios, it has to be async, and say because you're getting a promise from from Axios. So then you say constant, let's say backend information info, just to make things easier to understand. So from the now we're connecting to the backend, and we're saying await Axios.get. Now you want to get the information from, so here we're getting the information from Marvel, but here we want to get the information from where from where Marvel is sending the information to. So Marvel is sending the information to this uh, point, which is just localhost. So it's sending the information here, localhost 5000. Sorry, localhost 5000. So that's where this information is being rendered to. So what we want to do in the front end is connect to where it's getting the information, which is localhost 5000, and grab the information from there. So we're not getting the information directly from Marvel. We're getting it as technically a third party. So we're getting it as a middleman. So we're getting it, sorry, we're not getting it from Marvel directly. We're getting it from the middleman. So this gets it from Marvel. So this goes right to Marvel and gets it, and you can see the information on localhost 5000. We are not going to go straight to Marvel. We're just going to go straight to localhost 5000 and get it. So what we have to do is HTTP, because this is just HTTP, localhost 5000, and then backslash, because there's a backslash here, so it's just backslash. And then we're going to say constant fetch data, await Axios, and then we're going to say constant console.log that backend information and the data that goes with it. So we're gonna get stuff here. We're gonna get information here, backend info, but we want to attach the data that comes back with it. So backend info data, and then save, and then come down here, and we want to call this function here, fetch data. So now if I go here, what's the problem? It's saying we can't find Axios. Oh, okay, sorry. So this has to be in this. Okay, so as you can see, it's gotten the data, and the result is Thor. Data here is, it should show us Thor. Yep, so as you can see, this is Thor. Now this is much more clear because it's a front-end console rather than what we have down here in the back end. It's kind of just jumbled up. I guess I cleared it out, but it's kind of just jumbled up info. So here you can see everything. So it's comics. You can go up to the comics, everything. So if I wanted to, I could come here and say backend info.data, and then we look here. We have all the stuff we need within results. So what we're gonna do is, since if you can see here, when we click on data, results is a part of data. So we can go from data to, oh, sorry. So there's data here. So from data to data. So this is the first data that we get just from calling the backend function. This is the whole data here. Now there's another tab in there called data. That's this data. And then within this data, there's something called results. So results. And when you save that and clear this, refresh this, it only shows you those the array of objects. So just everything within the results. So now let's say I want to grab the name. I can just say results.name. Oh, sorry. No, it'll be results and then 0.name. and it'll give me Thor. So the reason why it's results 0, an array of 0, is because everything within this, as you can see here, it's an array of objects. So this is the first array. So you're going into the first array and then grabbing name. So as you know, arrays go by 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be 0, meaning the first one, and then dot name. And then you're able to get Thor. So what should be inputted here is Thor. So this right here just shows you that by doing this, we're connected to the backend. So from here, we're actually getting all our information from here, this local 5000 server. Um, that's that's um that's where we're pulling this from. So the difference comes when you're trying to send information from the front end to the back end. So this, like I said earlier, is already carved in stone, as a name is equal to Thor. It's equal to nothing else but Thor. You can't search for anything else. You can't get any data back here that isn't Thor. It's the only thing that's being asked from the Marvel database, and it's the only thing the Marvel database is providing you with. So nothing else can be done. So this is just, by the way, this is just to understand how it gets hooked up. So we can clear out of this. On the next part, what we're gonna do is work on the form and start passing data into the backend server. So stay tuned for part 2, and don't forget to leave a like and comment down below if this is helping you or just any review you want to give the video. See you on the next one.